Thanks, Jamie, and good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, for being here and for those who are joining in and watching over social media. Please allow me to begin by offering our congratulations to the U.S. Women's National Team. They've added a fourth star to their jersey, and they did it deservedly so and emphatically so. The entire team was an inspiration, not only, I think, to Americans, but to people all over the world. And there's a great opportunity for Chicagoans to show their love for members of that team. On Sunday, the Red Stars are hosting a welcome back match. It has already set a record for tickets sold for a women's game, but I want to encourage Chicago to come out, make it a sellout, and have it be the start of a push of sellouts and improved attendance for the Red Stars who deserve it. I also think it's a great opportunity to personally congratulate and thank the four members of the U.S. team who play for the Red Stars: Morgan Bryan, Tierna Davidson, Julie Ertz, and Alyssa Nair. So please join the Red Stars on Sunday. As for our team, 2 days following the Open Cup loss in St. Louis, I met with the group, the guys and the staff. And I shared with them that while I still had confidence, that I needed to see some changes. And I provided a 5-game window, which closed with the recent match on Saturday against Cincinnati. While the effort and intention was there, the results weren't. And so our team and the entire league knows that we're open for business. I understand that whatever else I say and however I may answer the questions that are posed today are going to cast a judgment. And that judgment is likely to fall along these lines. Is it that I have conviction, or is it just stubbornness? Is it that I have insight and faith, or just folly and blind spots? I think for the detractors, they'll see it one way. For the loyalists, they'll see it the other. I believe that I'm a self-aware individual, and I do try to protect others against my being wrong in that regard. And for example, for our ownership, I make sure that they have access to data that is unvarnished, uninterpreted by me. I've asked an outside independent group to write a report on our team and how we conduct our soccer operations. And this is my way of ensuring or trying to ensure that we don't have blind spots. I do this also because I know that I'm neither omniscient nor do I have some playbook that gives me infallible answers. But I also know that I'm good at what I do. And I'm very disciplined about remaining with our 3 principles of trying to do the right things, trying to do things in the right way, and in being a giver. On March 11th, we presented our ownership with a strategic plan for the entirety of the club. They accepted and supported that plan, and the easiest proof of their support is the massive investment they recently made in obtaining an amended lease with the Village of Bridgeview. Andrew Hauptman's persistence over time and Joe Mansueto's support since his arrival made it all possible and provided a great business deal for the Village, and it's opened up for us a return to the heart of Chicago, something that we consider vital to achieving our ambitions. But everything always comes back to wins and losses, and sitting below the red line, it's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's heartbreaking. And there's nothing that I can say that you haven't heard quite a few times over already. All we can do is try to mimic our fans. Fans who, even on Saturday during a lengthy weather delay, were full throttle, sang in full voice, and did everything they could, imploring and urging and pushing the team to stand and deliver. We will do the same, all of us. Those associated with the team directly, those in support positions, and every member of our staff. We will continue marching. We will continue trying to improve, to deliver the results that we all dream about and those that remain within our control and within our reach. Unfortunately, I know we're going to make mistakes. We're human. And when we do, we'll own them. You know, when we announced that Bastian Schweinsteiger had made it to the All-Star team, we issued a release that listed all previous Fire players who made the All-Star team. And unfortunately, in the first issue of that release, you know, just through a simple human mistake, we omitted Mike McGee. Now, that's not great, and we'll get better at that. But I personally spoke with Mike. I apologized to Mike. He very graciously accepted the apology and in turn very generously offered to help the team in any way. While results will always be the primary objective, they don't define the totality of our club, our efforts, and even some of our successes. To many, what I'm going to say next won't matter, or it won't matter as much as a 5-game winning streak or making the playoffs or winning in the playoffs. But they're no less important. ESPN, while the specific details are embargoed by ESPN, our ratings are triple improved from this time last year. Our average viewership is up. We're top 5 across all MLS teams in average viewership and top 5 among all MLS teams in average new subscribers per game. We're double our ratings from our previous broadcast provider. And I think equally important is that in just 10 months, ESPN Plus now has 2 million subscribers, which means our available audience dwarfs what our previous broadcast provider could offer. We were just named by ESPN as the Sports Humanitarian Team of the Year. It's the 4th major award our foundation has earned in the last 5 years. We're grateful for the generous $100,000 grant that comes with that. It's going to allow us to continue to expand our plays program as we try to reach our goal of being in 40 schools by the end of next year. And I do want to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize the other finalists for the award this year, which also included fellow MLS brethren, New York City Football Club, the LA Dodgers, and the Anaheim Ducks, all of who are doing great work in their respective communities. Just like the last roundtable where we announced AT&T, we have another blue chip partner that's joined the family in Captain Morgan. We're excited. They're creative. They're innovative. They're going to use our IP rights on their bottling and packaging, and we think it's a perfect pairing for us. We're also making great efforts to reconnect with our former players. Under the direction of Graham Parker, we're going to reunite with a lot of former players, try to recognize and celebrate their legacies and their contributions. He's already spoken to 30 players directly. We're going to reach all 295 in some way or fashion. We're looking to bring back players in ambassador roles, in paid positions. Frank Klopas will miss some games in August due to a family wedding in Greece, and we've lined up Patrick Duty to serve as the analyst, and he does work already with the Big Ten Network. And Graham is aiming to develop and issue a first alumni network newsletter before the summer is over. Our academy continues to make positive strides. You know, we're one of only 5 MLS teams that had all 3 of its eligible academy teams participate in the U.S. Soccer Development Academy playoffs. And since Cedric's arrival, we've had 25 different players make it into youth national teams, and that includes a player who was with the Polish youth national team and one with Macedonia. These are just a few but tangible examples of the progress of our club. But it's not enough without first-team results. We are renewing our commitment and our connection to the city, and that starts with our connection to each other. Since Saturday's loss, I've met in different groups with every member of our staff, our team staff. And in each, I asked every person to commit in 3 areas. First, for them to remain proud to represent this club and this city, to stand tall and to operate with pride. Second, to try and create at least one win per week, to find or make ways that yield a positive contribution to the club, because there is a compounding effect in the accumulation of even small wins, and no victory is insignificant. And third, I challenged everyone to be an even bigger giver, to do something nice and unexpected for someone else. Lots of people look at the club for inspiration, for escape, for a sense of belonging, for camaraderie. And while winning championships is our primary goal, our influence and our intentions must be greater. So we will remain bold in our ambition, brave in our attempts, and big-hearted in our actions. With that, be happy to take questions.
Hi, Nelson. Just first of all, with the announcement of the amended lease, is there a time frame for an announcement on a new stadium? And is there a possibility that this team might be splitting games between here and another venue, Soldier Field, next season?
I appreciate that, Brian. Look, we finally just got done reaching agreement on the amended lease. We've had a preliminary conversation with the folks running Soldier Field, and we'll continue to look at all options. There's no timeline designated, but every minute and every day matters, knowing where we end up, where our fans can find us. And so we're planning for that future, and no other decisions at this moment have been made.
Guillermo?
Yeah, along the same lines, the planning for the eventuality of a permanent home outside of whether it's Soldier Field or another facility within the city limits. Do you have a sort of long-term idea of what your ultimate goal is as far as a soccer-specific stadium within the city?
Look, we've seen it work both ways throughout the league. You know, in Atlanta and in Seattle, it's certainly working for them to share a venue with an NFL counterpart. We've also seen great success in markets like Sporting Kansas City, where they've built their own stadium and control it. I'd like to take this a little sequentially. We're grateful for our time here in Bridgeview. We're grateful for the partnership that we experienced with the Village and its public and Mayor Landek. I'd like to first find our next port of call, do some games there, and then we'll look about the broader future after that.
Alex?
When you look at the details of the way this ended up getting done, why do you feel specifically that the way this panned out, this situation of continuing to invest in the local community here in Bridgeview, along with, giving yourself that option to play elsewhere, why was that the ultimate deal that got done rather than, saying a straight buyout of Bridgeview and leaving that all behind and, keeping a presence in the community rather?
I can't speak for the Village, and I won't, but I think this is a fantastic outcome for all parties. For the Village, they are unencumbered by our presence, so they can pursue any events in any way that they want. We're going to make an immediate $5 million investment in additional or enhanced facilities, which gives them a chance to grow a soccer ecosystem for themselves. I think we gain some benefit by that as well, while the team continues to train here, while the academy continues to be here. Improved and enhanced and increased facilities will be good. So I'd like to view it as a win-win. I think the fact that the Village signed and agreed probably suggests they feel the same way.
Let's go to Jeremy McCullough.
Thank you. With the next stage of you guys moving to a new stadium and a attendance being what it is, if you guys do move to Soldier Field, what's the plan to draw more fans to the city, given that
When?
Soldier Field, for example, is 61,000 people. This is a 20,000 seat stadium that doesn't sell out.
Yeah, look, it's not about the size of the venue. I do think the location of the venue matters. And it's been challenging to get here for many fans. And Soldier Field is well known, easier to get to, and even on events like the Gold Cup final, which had 62,000 fans, it clears out pretty easily and pretty quickly. We do not believe that moving to the city is a solve for all of our issues. You know, we know that there's a lot of other work that we need to do. And our strategic plan has very specific tactics around that. You know, simply broad highlights, we have to do a better job of connecting with people where they live. So we intend to go face-to-face in all 77 neighborhoods. We need to do a better job and have already begun doing a much better job with social media. Our level of content and the quality of our content is far greater than it's ever been, and the metrics are showing that as we're up across all social media metrics since the start of the year. We have to market our team more. But I said it somewhat in jest, but the reality also, Jeremy, is we have to have a product that resonates with the fans, that starts with winning. You know, everyone equates winning with quality, with being good, with entertaining. So we have to find ways to win, do so in a representative style that the fans and the public of Chicago will appreciate. But it's a lot of different factors coming together.
When you said open for business in your opening statement, how is that different than normal, I guess?
Well, look, we're not going to give guys away. You know, I think some teams are trying to capitalize on that knowledge. So when I receive an offer of $50,000 of allocation and a first-round super draft pick for Alexander Katai, I'm somewhat from bemused to insulted. But it more than ever should highlight to the players that our sense of urgency is far greater. We have shown, I think, a more than reasonable amount of patience for the group to come together and to gel. That hasn't happened. And so now I'll also be more aggressive in seeking opportunities rather than waiting to see what may come our way.
Nelson, después de escuchar que esperaste por estos días, estos 5 últimos partidos para hacer algunos cambios, ¿está en la mente del Chicago Fire, en todo el cuerpo técnico, en el staff, de que esta temporada ya está perdida?
No. Let me just please translate the question. After indicating that you gave the group 5 games before making decisions, do we feel after those 5 games that the season is lost? Para nada. Nosotros no vamos a parar de intentar de ganar todos los partidos, cada partido uno por uno. Los margen siguen muy pequeñas entre los equipos. Nosotros solamente estamos a 4 puntos de superar un puesto en la liguilla y vamos a ir a la muerte, siempre. Esa es la actitud y siempre va a ser la actitud. No, we don't believe the season's lost by any stretch. While our urgency is higher, you know, we're still only 4 points off a playoff spot that can easily be achieved, and we're going to play every game to win every game as we have done in the past.
Warren?
Nelson, I'd like to return to the stadium issue real quick. You mentioned that you're renewing your connection to the city and moving to a stadium in the city. What does that mean for suburban fans?
It means they might have to travel a little further. But there are 77 neighborhoods in the greater Chicagoland area. We probably can't hit them all equally, but we need to learn to hit them all. I think there's other ways to get to them other than face-to-face. In the end, Oren, I think that when you're a winning team, when you show yourself in the community actively, that will involve getting our players out more often and more repeatedly. When you're making personal connections, when you create an environment, one that I like to call indaffiliation, where someone believes that they are affiliated with a tribe, yet can maintain their individuality, you've got it all. And we intend to intensify all of our efforts across all of our objectives and plans to make that happen.
Paul Banks?
What do you see as kind of the future for this facility beyond? What's going to be like the identity? What's going to be like the main attractions coming to SeatGeek Stadium?
I think that's a question better asked of the village, Paul. I know that while we remain here, we're proud to be here, proud to represent Bridgeview. As I said, we're going to make an investment in facilities, so we'll continue to train here for a period of time with the first team in the academy. But ultimately, what direction the village takes for usage of SeatGeek Stadium is up to them.
José Luis?
Nelson, quería preguntarle, muy bien ha dicho usted que está muy cerca todavía la cuestión de los playoffs, está muy cerca. Obviamente ahora el calendario empieza a ajustarse mucho con la League Cup. Quería preguntarle qué tan importante es la League Cup, porque juega entre medio, se va a rotar para poder priorizar un poco a lo mejor el poder llegar a los playoffs, que no quemarse a lo mejor el equipo en ese sentido, como decía Pablo Luis el otro día, de la cuestión de renovar los jugadores. ¿Cómo se ve la League Cup y si se va a rotar un poco para dar prioridad a llegar a los playoffs, o también esto es un nuevo torneo que puede salvar también la temporada, ¿no?
The question is, as we're getting closer to the playoffs and the games are fewer, but the schedule is tighter, there's greater congestion, including the inclusion of the upcoming Leagues Cup. Is there a thought to rotate the squad and place a priority against MLS and making the playoffs, or how will we treat the Leagues Cup? El Leagues Cup es ¿qué? Sí, el Leagues Cup es muy importante para la liga. Competencia contra equipos mexicanos es muy importante porque tenemos que demostrar nuestras calidades como una liga. Entonces es un reto muy importante para la liga y para nosotros es un honor que pidieron a nosotros competir en este evento. Nuestra actitud siempre fue, si hay un trofeo, tenés que ir para intentar de ganarlo. Y ahí es a donde pensamos hoy en día. Obviamente con un partido hoy, un partido sábado, es más complicado. Pano y yo ya lo hemos discutido, pero vamos a intentar de ganar el partido contra Cruz Azul, que es un gran rival, que está en gran forma ellos mismos, y pensamos que ellos también van a venir con su plantel para intentar de ganar. A brief translation, we have always adopted the attitude that if a trophy's on the line, we're going to play to try to win it. Sure, it's more complicated by having a game today, Wednesday and Saturday before next Tuesday's match. Pano and I have already discussed that, but we're going to make every attempt to win against a great rival who's in great form, and our expectation is that Cruz Azul is also going to play its best players in an attempt to win.
Let's go back to Brian Sandoval.
Nelson, has there been any discussion in dismissing Veljko Paunovic, and how would you, I guess, look at his performance this season?
You know, Brian, I have said previously, and I'll repeat again today, I'll never discuss the status of a coach because there's no answer that ends the discussion.
Guillermo?
Yeah, you brought in David Ousted earlier this year, and he was your starter for the good part of the early season. Once Kenneth Kronholm stepped in, he took over the starting job. What is the situation with Ousted now, since he appears to be behind Richard Sanchez?
And was there more to just one bad game in San Jose back in May that led to Olmsted kind of losing that position?
No, listen, the coaching staff makes the decisions as to who plays and who doesn't play. David is a thorough professional, so I want to be clear there's nothing outside of how the coaching staff is evaluating performance in training, and what they think is the best lineup to earn a win. So nothing other than that.
Let's go to Alex Campbell.
Nelson, on the Mo Adams trade that obviously became official this morning, you said in your press release that you hope this is going to allow the opportunity for a successive move in this window. Can you talk at all about, what parts of the team you're targeting in this window, and how you think you can best manage that money, that GAM?
Yeah, sure. First of all, to be clear, we'll receive the allocation money next year. So this is more a matter of how we manage our roster spots, creating cap space for the senior roster and the like. Our plan for this window was designed back in February and March. It evolved a bit as the first window carried through, and some of the things we weren't able to do and tried to do. We always try to improve along the lines. So even if we can improve a player that we consider 17th or 18th on the roster, we will do so. We know that we need to improve competition at the outside backs, and we'll continue to look to do that. We also knew and mentioned that in this window we would try to see if we could secure designated players, some players that we had been following for a while, even if that meant onboarding them in January. A few weeks back, we made a $5 million offer for a young South American player. Unfortunately, a European team has come in and offered $10 million. And so I don't believe at this point that we will look to match that and sign that player. We have other players, DP level, that we continue to track, monitor. We have not yet made a decision whether to make offers for those players, but we'll see what happens. And the trade talk within the league is starting to pick up. This window feels short and is short, and so we're fielding more inbound calls. We have proactively reached out to every team. We're engaged in two, I would say, serious discussions of trades with different players with two different teams, but we'll see where it takes us.
Jeremy McCullough.
Nelson, I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about the decision to trade Adams, considering both the age of the central midfield and both the depth of the position.
Yeah, we made a decision with Mo that was impacted by a few different things. First, we didn't think he'd make our 11 for the protected list for the expansion draft. And currently, if you lose a player in the expansion draft, you only get $50,000. Second, and please, Jeremy, hear me carefully here, we think that holding midfield position, we believe that in our academy, we have quite a few players with high potential. The careful part is, I'm not suggesting they're ready for next year or this year, but they're progressing well, and we have quite a few of them. So when the opportunity came for us, that served a few purposes. One, it was more money that we could get than risk losing him in the expansion draft. Two, it's going to create some cap space and some flexibility with how we maneuver the roster to try to add another piece that we feel is more critical to improving the team now than Mo could provide. So I think, and then third, just having foresight, succession planning, and seeing that we feel we've got some good players in the pipeline. So I think I hope it works out for Mo, but we had to make the difficult decision to move.
Let's go to Dan Santaromita. Every time we've done one of these, we talk about the rebrand at this point, and what you guys are thinking about and where that's at. So what is the latest on that for you guys?
We are just about done with yet another wave of seeking input from fans and partners. We've gotten tremendous responses from surveys that we've done. We've completed 2. We have 1 more survey to do, in addition to some small focus groups and even some one-on-ones. It's been interesting, the range of answers that we've been getting. You know, we've focused on asking about the current name, the current logo, our current colors, our current uniform, and even the meaning of the name, and what among those things are really important to people, what among those things are they more open to changing. The answer that has had near unanimity, I would say like 90%, is everybody just wants us to represent all of Chicago, you know, and not be limited to a particular geographic area or thinking that way. That's been the most unifying answer. Beyond that, you know, you have diehards who want everything to stay the same. You have people who say, I still don't understand why we're named after a disaster. You have others who say, bring back the fire truck, and others who say, hey, get rid of this whole association with firefighters altogether. So we're working through that. We're working with the league. We're working with an outside agency. And when we feel we've got something that's the winner and encapsulates everything that we want to be and who we are, we'll bring it forward.
Yeah, Nelson, en la primera roundtable de este año dijiste que para poder traer jugadores tendrías que deshacerte de muchos jugadores. So, en esta ventana de verano, ¿el Chicago Fire está buscando alguna posición específica? ¿Está haciendo ya las contrataciones, las negociaciones? ¿Está haciendo la visoría para traer nuevos jugadores?
The question was, at the first roundtable you mentioned in order to bring players you need to remove players. Are we scouting players? Are we close to signing players? What's the current status? Sí, mira, primero ahora tenemos un visador, un scout de full time, Borja Di Matías, y se puede usar ahora, que él tiene experiencia en la liga y en Argentina, y él ahora es empleado por el club y estamos muy contentos con eso. Nosotros seguimos mirando jugadores que sería posible traer ahora y también, si es posible, hacer una contratación ahora, pero traerlos en enero si no podemos abrir suficientemente los cupos de DP o el salario que es necesario sobre el presupuesto. En el momento tenemos, ahora llegamos al punto, en cada posición tenemos 3 candidatos que hacemos un seguimiento, que eso me parece muy importante, pero eso siempre va cambiando y mejorando. So my answer is, we now have a full-time scout, Borja Di Matías, who has experience in La Liga and in Argentina. We're excited by that. He's working with us on a full-time basis and is employed. We've reached the point where we now have 3 candidates at every position that we follow on a regular basis, but that list is constantly changing and evolving as we drop guys off or add new guys on. We are looking at either making additions this window or reaching agreement for players now, but to join us in January.
Warren?
Nelson, have you talked to or asked permission to talk to any other coaches about coaching this team?
No.
Next question, Paul Banks. Last night during the International Champions Cup game here, the chant was back, and by that I mean the chant that about 3 years ago that you went on the pitch and you denounced. FIFA enacted stronger penalties on Monday. Do you think we'll reach a point where it does go away someday, and if so, what do you think it's going to take for that to happen?
Boy, I really hope so, and I appreciate your asking the question, Paul, because I think our fans deserve a lot of credit because they don't do it. And that chant is predominant in Mexican soccer, and I think that's fair to say. We have a large fan base that has Mexican heritage, yet they don't do it here. It is offensive, and it has no place. It's not clever. It's not creative. It doesn't do anything to add a positive element. I don't know what FIFA can do. I'm just grateful for our fans agreeing that that's not representative of the citizens and of the spirit of Chicago, and we don't do it. And I'm grateful to them and to all of our fans for that. If I had an answer, if I had a solution, I'd offer it. I just hope people come to their senses and realize how offensive it is, and there's a better way to show love and support, and there's a better way to show frustration than homophobic chants.
Final question here with Jose Luis.
Nelson, por diferentes motivos lo que es la línea defensiva ha tenido muchas bajas, tanto por lesiones, por llamadas a selección, pero el caso es que ha cambiado también muchas veces de alineación. Si vemos los últimos 7 o 8 partidos, pues como 6 veces ha sido completamente diferente, ¿no? ¿Piensas que por ahí puede estar, y recibe goles además muy fácil el equipo, ¿no? ¿Piensas que por ahí el equipo no se ha preocupado tanto en la defensa? Porque si vemos del centro del campo para arriba, son unos jugadorazos muy buenos, pero atrás llegó Marcelo, ha terminado en el banquillo, ha habido como una puerta giratoria, muchísimos jugadores pasando. ¿Piensas que por ahí puede ser uno de los factores del no funcionamiento del equipo, y si se piensa reforzar con mucho más intensidad esa línea?
The defense, and in particular the lineup, has experienced a lot of changes, and we receive goals typically very easily. From the midfield to the forward, it's a potent group, a very good group. We brought in Marcelo, but yet he finds himself on the bench. Do we think this can be a factor as to where we stand, and will there be reinforcements or a change in attitude and direction and coaching to improve it? Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, thank you. Mira, la defensa no es solamente los defensores, y es todo el equipo que tiene que atacar y defender conjuntamente. Y algunas veces, pero no suficientemente, tuvimos la mentalidad necesaria, como en el partido fuera de casa en LAFC, que tiene una ofensa también muy potente, que tuvieron chances, pero nosotros mostramos orden y la capacidad de mantener un rival. Muchos de los cambios en la defensa, si no estoy equivocado, ha ocurrido en parte por lesión, en parte por suspensión, y también hay decisiones que tiene que tomar el cuerpo técnico. En el caso de Marcelo, me parece que es como ocurre muchas veces cuando un jugador llega a esta liga, lleva tiempo para adaptarse. En el caso de Marcelo es un poco curioso porque arrancó muy bien y en un momento parece que perdió un poco de su confianza, pero está trabajando para tomarlo de vuelta. Pienso que un solidez tiene que llegar si vamos a tener chance de llegar a la liguilla. También pienso que si podemos convertir las oportunidades enfrente del otro arco, es un poco más fácil ir defendiendo cuando estás ganando 1-0 o 2-0, como encontramos en el partido contra Atlanta, aunque hubo una expulsión y lo entiendo y todo. Para mí, eso tiene que ser un enfoque. Es un enfoque en el entrenamiento ahora. Hay más tiempo dedicado en el entrenamiento ahora, defensivamente. Y sí, en un momento tenemos que asegurar quién va a ser esa línea de 4 y seguir ahí, pero no es solamente los defensores, sino todo el grupo. Do I have to try to do that in English? I didn't write my own notes down, but I will summarize and trust that I haven't missed anything, and Jose will be kind enough to fill in the gaps. It's not just the defensive line that contributes to the defense. It has to be the whole team. There have been a few times, albeit only a few times, where I think we've shown the requisite defensive mentality, and I use the example of the game away at LAFC against a very potent offense. Admittedly, they had chances in that game, but I think we were stout and resolute in defending. If I'm not mistaken, the lineup changes along the back line have in part been caused by injuries and suspensions, and for sure there would be a benefit if we could settle on a back four and work the back four. I think there's been heightened attention and more time spent in training on defense, not just the line, because everybody has to contribute to the defense. And one other comment I made was, at times, I think if we were to convert in front of the other goal and go up 1-0 or 2-0, then defending sometimes becomes a little bit easier as well. Pretty close.
Okay, that concludes today's roundtable. Thank you all for participating. Thank you, Nelson, for your time.
Thank you.